let's start from you, Mr. Bukar Kyari. You've listened to the July MPC decisions. It's been about 2 months since then. From the macroeconomic environment, what are your views in the economic data that we have on our hands before this meeting decision today that the central bank will make within the hour?
I think the posture that was taken in July, where the interest rates were increased, is more of a fear of liquidity in the banking system. And basically what you might think is that the central bank is taking a position of containing inflation and price stability rather than growth. Ordinarily, at that stage, where we have clearly gone into recession, one would expect some kind of alignment between the fiscal and the monetary policy. Therefore, the expectation is for the central bank to actually either stay or cut interest rates. Of course, there are other arguments for the raising of the interest rates at that time. Some fundamentally given reasons include attracting foreign portfolio investors into the market.
Thank you, Mr. Kyari. Let's get a bit of a sense of some of these data that we have on our hands that would form part of the considerations of this committee. Bisi Sanders, thank you very much for coming through. Talk to us from an advisory, consulting, macroeconomic perspectives. We had inflation, we had a GDP second quarter. A few days ago, we had the capital importation data from the Statistics Office. How do you think the central bank will decide of this afternoon? Give us weigh in on this conversation.
I align myself with what Bukar said in terms of the expectation on interest regarding an economy that is in recession. How do we manage it out of that? But against all expectations, the Monetary Policy Committee decided, but interestingly, I think there were about three of them that, three of the members that actually asked that there should be interest cut. Now, going into, talking about the expectation while we wait for the next 30 minutes or so when the governor will come out, the statistics we have so far does not support that considerable or significant increase has been observed in the inflow of the foreign portfolio investors, nor in the foreign direct investment. Though the figures that we've seen are a bit higher than the expectation for this part of the year, but it's not such a quantum increase consistent with the argument that was proffered by the committee in taking the decision to raise the interest rate. I do not also, maybe we'll talk about that later, I do not also think that such a conception of how to attract foreign investment or foreign currency into the economy is appropriate, nor is it a solution to the challenges that we are having now.
Okay, Mr. Sanders, thank you very much for that part of your weighing in on this. But let's get a bit of a market and a finance analyst perspective to where we were, the road between July and September, where we are right now. We have just about 2 minutes. Mr. Olufemi Awoyemi of Proshare, Nigeria. What do you think from a market perspective? You've seen the equities market, a bit of gentle volatility since July. You've seen yields on treasury bills and bonds hitting around 18% at the secondary window. Do you think we have the right situation from a market point of view? You've seen the currency as well. Talk to us for 1 minute about this before we take a quick break, then we'll return.
Okay. If you would allow the problem to linger on for so long, you find out that you have very few options left when you tend to reach the road like we are. We have a conflicting situation on our hands, one of slowing growth and rising inflation. It's not an easy day for the CBN governor today, but whatever decision he takes, he must understand that he should deliver this today. He should deliver the right signals to domestic investors for them to understand and build confidence back in the whole economy. If you look at the current economic recession, interest rates needs to go down to boost output. Yet, if you take rising inflation and weak currency, you would have to move interest rate up. These are solid arguments on both sides. We're hopeful that CBN may generally keep status quo.
Thank you, gentlemen. Bukar, let's start with you all again for about 1 minute. This is a growth stimulation versus price stability. How do you think the central bank will decide?
It's going to be a tough decision, as we were discussing just before we got on the air. Either way, you are going to be on the wrong side because there are valid arguments for a rate increase and also valid arguments for rate reduction. The consensus is to hold, right, to do nothing. However, there has been a lot of bashing around going on of the fiscal stimulus as well as an expansionary monetary stand, in which case it appears that the decision that may come out of the MPC might actually favor rate reduction. However, we will find out the details in the next 40 minutes, as you have stated.
Yes, thank you, Bukar. Kyari. Mr. Sanders, very quickly, the finance minister in the last 24 hours have said that the central bank should cut interest rates. Do you agree with her position?
The issue that faces Nigeria is the issue of, biting the bullet, having some spine to take necessary, to take the decisions that are necessary at this stage of our economy. For instance, we realize that with the exception of 1974, when in all of Nigerian economic history, that was when we had a demand-pushed inflation. At all other times, including now, what we have is supply-push inflation. And it's tied to the structure of our economy. So, you need to actually situate whatever decision the Monetary Policy Committee will be taking in that context. And if you look at it from that angle, notwithstanding that theoretically, and I'm not an economist of on one hand or the other hand, you've got to actually be pragmatic. The rate cut is the appropriate thing. But as Bukar said, we are not stargazers. So let's wait for another 30 minutes and hear from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, we're going to wait for another 30 minutes. Thank you very much, Bisi Sanders. Olufemi Awoyemi, in just one quick, about 10, 20 seconds, can you make a response? Do you agree with the finance minister that the headline interest rate should be shifted at today's announcement?
The minister tried to do two things. One was to kind of like speak to investors to allay their fears, as it were. Second thing was to also raise the fear of analysts in the same breath. And here's why that makes it much more very difficult to understand. Why would the minister go in public to say that he wants the independent CBN to raise rates? The whole idea of a coordinating system is for you to have that conversation to have taken place between the minister and the CBN governor prior to that, and then we continue to, I don't know.